groups. He's an expert on Muslim Brotherhood and Islamic groups, Islamist groups, and also is a professor emeritus from Bar Ilan University for many years. Dr. Mordechai Kedar joins me today. Dr. Kedar, shalom and welcome. It is nice to see you, but on the other hand, if I'm seeing you today, that means that it's after one of the most devastating attacks that Israel has seen in its history. And I haven't gotten a chance to speak to you yet, so this is my first opportunity to do so. So let's start from the beginning. Amazing operation by Hamas, 2 years in the planning, and Israel somehow missed it. How does that happen?
Good question. It will be really investigated, and that's what I hope. After all, I spent 25 years in the intelligence, and the alert which the intelligence should have given to the state is embedded in the DNA of the intelligence. This is what the intelligence is for. What else if not for the warning and to ring the bell? And yet the intelligence missed the whole thing, and it will be investigated. As for now, I can already say, and this is more than clear, then that Israel was living in some kind of conception that Hamas people, leaders, organization are deterred and they are contained. Contained means that they live in Gaza. Everybody knows the borders. They honor the borders. The borders are very strong borders. We have the fence, and we have other things like all kinds of systems which could detect anyone who touches the fence, and many more things related to high technology, which gives us good defense from anything which might come out from Gaza. This was the pre-assumption. This was the conception which for years led the people here. As a result, we understood the Hamas want development, good health, education, construction or reconstruction of the places in Gaza which were destroyed in the former rounds. And in order to enable them to run the economy, Israel gave them 20,000 permits per day to come to work in Israel. It also helped the Israeli construction industry and so forth. So it was like mutual good for both sides. Israel needed their working hands and they needed the money, so Israel allowed them. And this was the mindset about Hamas and Gaza until Shmini Atzeret morning, until October 7th morning. There were all kinds of information about the growing strength of the Quwat al-Fidiyya, as they call it in Arabic, actually the army of Hamas. We knew that they are developing new missiles because once in a while they were checking them by launching them to the sea, the west, not to Israel. But yet we knew about all these experiments. And I believe that the intelligence knew about all kinds of developments which they have in Gaza. Yet, since the conception was saying that they actually want development, good health, and stable life, all the information were put into this framework, which explained everything in a way or another, as long as it does not disrupt the theory. And then came October 7th morning, and everything just collapsed. And retroactively, we know that they were actually deceiving us to think that they are deterred and
and that they're interested in
content,
governance
content.
as opposed to fighting. They want to just
Yeah,
govern.
yeah, yeah.
T-
All
t-
these
t-
things
tell me,
which make
tell me, just in parentheses, just a short answer here. How similar is this to the Yom Kippur War? Like how the same things you're saying
almost
to me,
one on one.
right? Conception, boy who cried wolf trick. Like deterring the intelligence by coming up to the fence over and over again. It's like the same thing. It's unbelievable.
Now,
It's
this
unbelievable.
conception, yeah, definitely. This conception actually was the result of another, I would say, uh, kind of thought about Hamas. I had like 5 years ago a meeting with one of the high officers in the intelligence, in the Agaf HaMechkar, the analysis department of the intelligence in Tel Aviv. And he started saying, when we talked about Hamas, he said, well, Hamas is a rational player, שחקן רציונלי. When I heard this, I almost jumped out of my skin. And I started to, to yell at him. So, what's wrong with this saying? I said, look, if you think about the logic behind the saying that Hamas are a rational player, it actually means that we have our rationale, which wants all kinds of, prosperity, good health, good life, whatever we are looking for. And this is our realistic achievement. And uh, since Hamas, as you say, are a reasonable player, they actually want the same thing.
Right. Like a Western, good life, shop at Zara,
Right.
and have latte
And
coffee.
and I told him this is the source of all evil in the assessment of the intelligence. When you start analyzing your enemy according to your culture, according to your reasonability, according to your reason, actually, according to your set of values and scale of priorities and culture in general, while he is a Muslim Arab who has totally different religion, totally different scale of priorities, totally different set of values which he believes in, totally different way of conduct, the chance that you can forecast what he will do is actually zero.
Right.
Because you think like Western society, like Israel is modern, liberal, secular in most cases.
But Dr. Kedar, isn't that something that you learn in intelligence school? Isn't that something to like think like a whoever it is, in this case, think like an Arab? Isn't that like alphabet of how you
I,
conceive of like intelligence? Like
of
it's,
course,
it's
of course.
yeah.
Look, when I
All
I
right.
used to, for many
I,
years I
I,
used
I
to give.
Dr. Kedar, I need to use the time to get
Okay,
the stuff
so
that
this
people need.
is actually the I would say the cornerstone of their own conception, that they think like us, they want like this exactly the same things, and this is where we fail.
Okay.
However, and,
I go ahead. Go ahead.
and here comes the big however.
Mhm.
I like half a year ago in on March or April, I published an article about how the next war will look like. And I assumed, I gave this assumption, that the next war will be, of course, run by Iran, means will be concentrated by Iran, and it will include Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Gaza Strip. All these countries have Iran proxies. Iran will arrange a mass attack on Israel from all these 5 directions, causing tremendous damage to Israel already in the first hour with missiles, with drones, with a land incursion, with whatever can be in order to bring Israel to its demise. Until the world wakes up to see what happened, Israel will be finished. Until the world starts ending. This was the satanic Iranian plan. All these players should have waited patiently. I mean, they could, of course, acquire weapons, ammunition, train themselves, do whatever needed in order to be ready for the moment when Iran will tell them, go. And this is what I published. And I think that it actually became the scenario which everything in this country was talking about. This will be the next war. And Hamas were not to open a war with us without the Iranian permission. However, that's what they did. They actually started a war by themselves without even consulting with the Iranians, not about the operation, but about the timing of the operation. The timing for October 7th was chosen by Hamas against the Iranian will.
And that's
Why
what
did
you're
they do?
hearing. You're hearing that through signal, through chatter.
No, analysis of all kinds of bits of information.
Mhm.
Now, why did Hamas time this assault on Israel to October 7th? The kibbutzim, the moshavim, the army bases in the perimeter of Gaza were the same. What pushed them to launch this attack on October 7th rather than waiting for the Iranian order? It would be even better for them to wait, because then Israel is devastated. Israel cannot retaliate. Israel cannot function. Israel is caught in surprise. And the results from the Gazan point of view, of the Hamas point of view, would be much better, because Israel has been attacked from all the directions. What pushed them to carry out this assault against the Iranian order or against the Iranian will, of course, Hezbollah also, against Hezbollah will, on October 7th morning? And the answer is the music festival, which was near Gaza. This is something which was not a week earlier, was not 2 weeks or 3 weeks when Rosh Hashanah was. This was the night and the morning of this festival. First of all, this is not the first festival. It is like either the 6th or the 7th in a row. In a row means every year they know already what is happening there. They hear it from Gaza. They hear it. And for them, it makes them very angry, because this Western music, when everybody in Gaza knows that these are boys and girls who are dancing together, are drunk with alcohol, could also be, getting some high, and the music which they are dancing goes to every home in Gaza, and they hate it. They hate because it's Western music with Western characteristics. They timed the attack to the morning of this festival. The festival started in the evening of Friday and was supposed to go all the way to afternoon of Shabbat. Means like 20 hours. In the morning, the people are already tired. Everybody sees them. They cannot run away without being seen. It's not the night. And they might be also drunk and maybe high, very easy prey
Targets.
to catch them, to capture them, and to either bring them to Gaza or use them as human shields when they will have the whole line of defense inside Israel. This is what they planned. That this was the plan, and this is actually what made this what we call the natural uh, festival, the festival in the
Oh, nature festival. Yeah, nature festival. Yeah.
nature festival, as it was, and this is actually what timed
Hmm.
the assault or the
Hmm.
whole night. Yishai, the Iranians are very angry, at least
Wow.
in the first day, because Hamas actually broke the plan. Because now they have one less very important player in this scheme which
Right.
they planned.
And the element of surprise is gone now.
If never surprise is gone. Now Israel is much more aware of its vulnerabilities along the borders,
Right.
and Israel will fix all kinds of things. Israel will strengthen the the power on the borders, especially vis-a-vis Lebanon, it means Hezbollah. Now Israel will be much more alert and much more aware of this possibility because Hezbollah planned the same thing.
So what you're saying then is that while this was a horrific event, a horrific attack, it may have actually saved Israel in that a combined attack was not what happened, and
Yeah.
the element of surprise was ruined. Now Israel is in a posture of at least awareness, still defensive, but is not going to be surprised anymore if an attack comes from anywhere like Yemen or other places.
Now we woke up to understand
Hmm.
the situation,
Hmm.
and you know, like since this started, like almost 2 weeks ago, I got some 20 or 30 emails or phone calls or WhatsApp messages. Hey, you talked about this. It was like half a year ago. So, and this is actually what is happening. In the first days, the Iranians and the Hezbollah did not interfere at all
Hmm.
because they somehow said, with words or without words, to the Hamas people, "Hey guys, you betrayed us by
You're on your
starting.
own,
You're on your own to
right?
deal with the Israelis. Good
Yeah,
luck. Don't call us. We'll not call you."
right. But on the other hand, it was a successful operation. Israel is embarrassed. This is
No, 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 no. Don't be mistaken. The
Mhm.
plan was to end or to come to the end of the operation only after Hamas have already built a line inside Israel, which will include the kibbutzim and the moshavim,
The
which are
Gaza border communities.
right inside these fortifications.
Uh-huh.
They were supposed to actually occupy part of Israel
Hmm.
in that area in order to have a better negotiation point vis-a-vis Israel to negotiate the releasing of their prisoners and
Hmm.
all kinds of things. Because if I read them correctly, they will try to have a swap agreement with us, which will include concessions in Jerusalem,
Hmm.
means that Israel withdraws from East Jerusalem and declares that it doesn't belong to Israel anymore. So the Waqf can take it, or the Islamic movement, or the other friends of Hamas. So this could be very easily one of their demands, and not because I say it here, because this is how they think.
Okay, so how do you
So
how do you see it now moving forward? This conflict.
okay, this sentiment of you are on your own, I think was for like 3 days or 4 days into the war. And little by little, Iran and Hezbollah understood they have to embrace the Palestinians. Otherwise, the whole thing will go in vain. And this is why this is actually the situation. And now they are helping Hamas, not because they love this war so much,
Hmm.
because they understood that if Hamas is being defeated decisively, the next will be Hezbollah, and the next
So
will be the militias in Syria.
is Hezbollah going to enter this war fully? They have these reportedly 150,000, 200,000 accurate and serious rockets that could penetrate Israeli airspace, could strike at Israeli infrastructure and places like the Knesset, etc. This is a nightmare scenario. Before I even go on, I just want to ask you, like, how is it that Israel has allowed her enemies to arm themselves so seriously against it? Isn't that violence in itself? When you arm yourself, when you prepare to destroy another country, isn't that something that you should stop? Isn't that Israel's responsibility to have a never again scenario? We just lost that whole never again thing in Gaza. Don't we have a never again scenario where we're not supposed to allow people to arm themselves against us like this? And now that they are, these guys are going to enter the war. Are they going to shoot these 200,000 rockets? Are we going to that level? And then thirdly, I need to ask you about this. What's with the Americans? Why are they here? Why are they here? And are they on the right side of this conflict?
Well, listening to Biden and to Blinken, Biden had two speeches, one last week, and the other one was yesterday. I think that I was surprised to what emotional level these speeches aimed. I think that if you take the speeches as they are, without the background noise, like the war and other things, I think that Israel could not expect a better talking about Israel. This was tremendous. This was big. However, and here comes the big however. In Western societies, Western culture, the more you give up to your neighbor, the less he honors you.
No, in Eastern, in Middle Eastern, you're saying.
Middle East, right?
Right, not in what, right. In the Middle Eastern, right. The more you give, the more you say you're willing to concede or come to compromise. The more your colleague understands you to be weak, spineless, contemptible, not
Right,
respectable.
right. Because if you don't respect yourself, your interests, so nobody else will do it for you.
Hmm.
So this is actually what is happening here. And now we have to see because apparently Hezbollah is, and when we talk now on a Thursday night, the 18th of October, as it is now, Hezbollah has not yet started the war from its side. All they do so far is to send the Palestinians in Lebanon with weapons, with a car, with whatever, or explosive belt in
Hmm.
order to kill as many Israelis as they possible.
Why are
So
they waiting?
who?
Why is Hezbollah waiting? Why are they not going into the war big? Are they going to wait this war
Because
out?
now, because of the American
Uh-huh.
fleet which came, they didn't expect because if the plan was as planned means to attack Israel in one moment from five directions, five militias, five whatever, they would be much more successful.
But these are the
Without,
Americans. This side of the American political aisle. Here, for example, here's a listener right now, Teresa McAvoy, who writes, "I'm an American. I do not trust Biden. We know that Biden is a two-state solutionist. We know that he's going to want to see. He's already mentioned a few times in his speeches Palestinian self-determination, etc.
Yeah.
Like
Look,
okay, so he's
let me tell you, in my humble view, it's not only Biden who came, also the Prime Minister of Britain came, and there are more to come. They are uh, shaking and shivering out of fear. Why? They are afraid that if Israel actually does the right thing and gets rid of Hamas altogether, this will send Hamas sympathizers in these countries, and there are many of them, to the streets to demonstrate, to attack police stations, to loot all kinds of things. They will lose their, I don't know, the priorities. They lose everything.
Mhm.
So this is actually what the situation is now. And it all depends on, I think, the decision of Hezbollah. If they decide to start launching against us part of their missiles, which are uh, in the border, near the border. So this is actually the situation now. People are waiting here in Israel, and they really don't know what will happen with Hezbollah if they enter the war. So far, I think that they did it on a very low scale in order not to escalate the situation. Yet there is a limit to what the limit to what they can tolerate
Shouldn't
Israeli
sh-
land
sh-
land operation in Gaza. And,
shouldn't Israel be the escalator? Shouldn't we use this opportunity to wipe out those missiles? Shouldn't we use this excuse, this understanding that Iran has armed our enemies against us and they're serious? Shouldn't we use this opportunity to take care of those 200,000 rockets now,
you are
etc.,
definitely right.
and fight the jihad in general, which has taken over our land?
And take another thing in account that that you want to finish problems with Iran on Iran's proxies now before Iran becomes nuclear. You do not want to mess with Iran and its proxies in a situation when Iran is full of uh,
Nuclear weapons.
nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons.
Yes. So
Right.
what I'm saying is that maybe now is almost the last chance to deal with Iran, which is the source of all evil in this region, before it becomes impossible because of the nuclear weapon which they might have.
And what excuse could Israel want more than this heinous attack? This is it. This is the opportunity. Dr. Kedar,
Look,
are we
the world
Israel?
understands that sometimes wars are defensive wars, and even if you start a war which makes you, on the losing side, if you start a war, you are the problem. Yet, if this is the war which you can prove that this was against terrorism, which will come eventually at some point, you are able to do it.
Dr. Mordechai Kedar, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Eli Chmielewitsky, I guess, says absolutely. Israel should make an end to these missiles. Don't trust anybody else to do it. There's an opportunity here, and I hope that they hear your analysis, and I hope that Israel can get healing through this. Stop coddling the jihadists. See them for what they are. Respect them for what they are.
Right.
Take them seriously, and therefore take them out. Dr.
Yeah.
Kedar, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
tonight.
you very much. Good night.
God bless you. Thank you very much. There is nobody in this world like Dr. Mordechai Kedar. He is an amazing advocate for Israel and an amazing analyst of Arab affairs. He's done an amazing job also at places like Al Jazeera. And so that was great analysis, and thank you very much. Very interesting what he said about that this was actually a war that Iran wanted to delay. That is an interesting piece of information.